Coming up next on Good Morning El Paso.
The waters were just raging, and it was just too late, unfortunately.
At least 17 people are dead, another 13 still missing this morning following the recent storm in Texas and Oklahoma. We have your storm track weather coverage coming up.
On the run no more. Mexican officials say they've captured a fugitive former officer from LA who's wanted in California for murder.
And breaking overnight, the sports world rocked by the arrests of FIFA officials. Charges of corruption, conspiracy, and taking bribes in the tens of millions.
Where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC 7's Good Morning El Paso.
Good morning. It is Wednesday. We'll get to your storm track weather coverage of flooding in a bit, but first we wanted to take a look outside this Wednesday morning.
This is from our downtown cam on top of the Chase building. It is starting to feel like summer out there with these temperatures, but could we be in for a few changes over the weekend? Dun, dun, dun.
Very good morning to you, El Paso, Las Cruces, and Juarez. I'm Stephanie Valle.
And I'm Hillary Floren. Good morning, everyone. Let's talk about the possibility for change and, of course, hoping for today's nice weather, right?
Yes, it's going to be hotter, Crystal, right?
That is right. Are we ready for the 90s? We are looking at those in the forecast quite consistently moving forward. Let's start off with your conditions outside this morning. Clouds and radar map here showing us we are primarily on the clear end of things, but do notice there's clouds that are building off to our west. Those are heading our direction. So we're looking at scattered clouds, mostly clear to partly cloudy, later on today into the afternoon. But this morning, it is a great start to the day as you head out the door. Don't need the umbrella, don't need a jacket. Temperatures at 59 in El Paso, winds just 5 miles per hour. Las Cruces at 58, winds at just 7 miles per hour. Those winds will pick up also later this afternoon and into this evening. We're looking breezy to some windy conditions. We'll talk more about your wind gusts over the next several days. Plus, we'll talk more about weekend rain chances coming up.
Okay, Crystal, thank you so much. It's 6:02 and the death toll is still rising in Texas after days of heavy rain and devastating flooding. At least 13 are confirmed dead so far, 5 of those in the city of Houston. 4,000 homes are damaged and more than 2,000 vehicles are abandoned. Here's ABC's Bazi Kanani with our storm track weather coverage.
The damage measured in miles. Entire neighborhoods in Houston submerged. Water flowing over roads and highways, sweeping away cars. Families like these forced to abandon their vehicles after the deluge that dumped nearly a quarter of the city's yearly rainfall in just 24 hours.
We have 1,000 properties that we visually inspected. We believe that there may be as many as 4,000 with significant damage.
I can't see.
This driver trying to make it through the floodwaters that trapped hundreds.
We have a female that's stranded on top of the car underneath the bridge. So we need rescue.
More than 900 emergency calls into dispatch, more than 500 of them water rescues.
I was sleeping in that room last weekend. I was here for a niece's wedding, and I was sleeping in this room, and all the furniture just left. The walls gone.
Residents now surveying the damage as the search continues this morning for the more than a dozen still missing, including Laura McComb and her 2 young children. They were inside this vacation house in nearby Wimberley when it was swept away.
She called me. She said, I'm in a house. I'm floating down the river. Tell Mom and Dad I love you and pray.
The deadly floodwaters now receding. Families across Texas left grieving. Among those confirmed dead this morning, 14-year-old Damian Blade and homecoming queen Alyssa Ramirez. Bazi Kanani, ABC News, Washington.
And back here in the borderland, 5 people are without a home this morning following a house fire that happened last night on the 5500 block of Ketchikan in northeast El Paso. We know 2 people were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation. Investigators say 6 family pets died in the fire, but 3 dogs were rescued. 10 snakes were also saved. The cause of the fire has still not been determined at this point. During the fire, a neighbor ran over with a fire hose and his car ran over the fire hose with his car. Firefighters want to remind you to be aware of what's going on.
When they see a fire scene like this and they see the hoses, they need to not run over them. They're not a typical rubber hose that, you could just run over and it bounces back. They do get damaged and they can cut off the supply line to the firefighters.
Not only is running over a hose dangerous, it's also a crime in the state of Texas. The neighbor was cited by the El Paso police for it.
A former Los Angeles police officer is waking up in an El Paso jail cell this morning after he was on the run for several months. Officials in Chihuahua announced they arrested Henry Solis in Juarez. New this morning, cameras were rolling as he was handed over to the FBI. Good morning, El Paso's Denise Olivas is live with the latest details. Denise.
Good morning, Stephanie. Henry Solis is accused of killing a man while off duty back in March in Los Angeles. And last night, the 27-year-old was brought back to the U.S. We have the video new this morning, courtesy of our news partners, Channel 44 in Juarez. Juarez officials walked Solis over through the Paso del Norte port of entry. Mexican media asking Solis if he had any messages for his family, but he remained silent. He was taken into custody by the FBI and arrested there on the bridge. Solis will now be extradited to Los Angeles. Solis's father was arrested and charged here in El Paso. FBI officials say he lied to agents, telling them he dropped his son off at a bus station, but surveillance photos later showed him walking Solis over the bridge into Mexico. Hillary, back to you.
Thanks so much. Breaking overnight, 6 FIFA officials are behind bars this morning, accused in a high-level corruption scheme. The United States is awaiting extradition of the 6 after they were arrested overnight during a raid in a luxury Swiss hotel. Swiss officials say the case involves bribes totaling more than $100 million linked to soccer tournaments in the U.S. and Latin America and dating back to the 1990s. It's unclear if this includes the 1994 World Cup in the U.S. The U.S. Attorney's Office in New York is investigating. Allowing concealed handguns in Texas public college classrooms is one step closer to becoming a reality this morning. Barely beating a midnight deadline last night, House lawmakers gave the preliminary approval to the campus carry bill. The bill was faced with more than 100 amendments lined up to kill it, but the amendments were abruptly dropped and the chamber's Republican majority forced a vote. A final House vote today would set up negotiations with the Senate, which has passed a similar bill already. A compromise would have to be sent to Governor Abbott by June 1st in order to be signed into law.
Also in Texas, a major border security bill totaling $300 million has been passed by the Texas Senate. The bill is part of Governor Greg Abbott's sweeping $800 million border package. The plan includes hiring hundreds of new troopers to guard the Texas-New Mexico border, where they'll replace National Guard troops that then Governor Rick Perry deployed last summer. Also included in the proposal, allowing state troopers to work 50-hour work weeks. The bill needs a final Senate vote and then heads back to the House, which must agree upon the tweaks. And it is 6:08 and we're taking a look at traffic courtesy of our TxDOT traffic cameras. Looking over on the east side at I-10 near Lee Trevino, where you can see traffic is starting to get pretty heavy there on the interstate, but no problems to tell you about. Just we'll keep an eye on things throughout the morning.
After months and months of controversy, a flag mural at a Cañetillo Elementary School will be painted after all.
But the problem now lies with funding, coming up with school district officials have decided.
And have the recent rains in the borderland done anything to alleviate the drought in New Mexico? I'll tell you what we found out.
And could we see any rain in the borderland later this week? Meteorologist Crystal Fly has your detailed forecast.
Well, the answer to that question is yes, but when will those chances of rain move in? I've got the details right after your break.
Thanks, Crystal. This is ABC 7, where news comes first.